The last one to come out was Deadpool and Wolverine. A majority fan favorite. It has its haters. It has its, people who are just biased because it did Deadpool things. And then we have you.
Uh, uh, okay. Okay, bro. Listen, I made a. If y'all in tune with me, y'all seen the YouTube short of me giving this movie a 7.5. And the reason that I put in the video was, I thought that they did very cool fight scenes and they had a lot of fluff during the movie that really didn't amount to anything, and the storyline was a little everywhere, right? I watched it a second time by the time of the recording, and my rating went down. Like I gave it like a 7 to like 6.5. And but before I get on my whole tangent, go ahead and tell me how I'm wrong, Phoenix.
Dude, the dislike ratio on this
Before
video,
go,
no.
I know,
But
it's bad. It's bad. It's so bad.
so you
It's
said,
so bad.
okay, so what was like the biggest complaint with it? You said there was a lot of fluff and like the story wasn't super tight knit.
Yes. Well, again, I don't want to go on my tangent. I want you to talk about how good it is, so we can meet in the middle. Because
So I agree that Deadpool and Wolverine does have its problems. There are, like, for example, Paradox. He was marketed as the main villain. They didn't really show a lot of Cassandra Nova, and they just kind of forget about him during the middle of the movie. I think he's only mentioned like once in that point, and that's when Pyro's investigating the diner they were at, and then he just kind of doesn't really appear until the end. After that, and so I will give you that, like, he doesn't really show up, but Cassandra kind of takes his place, and it could probably be a little more not cohesive. I don't know. I'd suck with the English is my first language, and I can't even think of the right word. But you know what I mean. Like, it's almost like they forgot about him halfway through, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we have to do this." When you're talking about fluff, I don't know, because everything just kind of like led into another thing. So I don't really see there being fluff. Like, everything had a reason for being there. No spoilers, or I mean, we are doing spoilers in this one. It's been like 3 weeks almost.
no, this is spoilers.
This is spoilers. Yeah,
you watched the movie, bro.
Yeah,
if you care, you watched it. Okay?
Yeah. Yeah, with the cameos too. I think I saw one review that was like, "Oh yeah, like, why are you bringing in these characters from movies that nobody liked?" And that's kind of the point. These are like the earliest superhero movies. Blade, the X-Men, the Fantastic Four, Elektra. We didn't get Daredevil or Ghost Rider, but they were in talks to be in the movie. I'm not sure if you've seen it. There's some concept art that shows both of Ben Affleck's Daredevil and Nick Cage's Ghost Rider in the final battle.
Yeah.
Not the final battle, but the one
Yeah,
you've seen it. And like, the whole movie was supposed to be like a celebration and send off to the Fox universe. If you didn't get that during the movie, you should have got that during the credits. And if you didn't get that during the credits, like, okay, I guess, like, I guess you just missed the point of the movie. But the point is that these movies mattered, even though they weren't so critically, like, or weren't well received when they came out. They still mattered to somebody. Even the actors, like, all the actors were like, yeah, like, it was great doing this, like, I loved coming back to these characters. If even just one person loved those movies matter. And I think that's why they had Deadpool stay in his universe, because those movies still matter.
And I agree. I'm not arguing about the history, because I'm a person who has watched every single one of those Fox movies, and I know exactly what I was happy to see every single character, and I was hyped. But fuck, I don't want to go on the whole tangent. Well, okay, let me just go on a small tangent.
Just
right?
just a little bit.
Just a little smidge, because we don't want this. Well, this segment is probably gonna be the longest segment, because all the rest of the movies we can agree they're at least okay. This one is the only one that we're.
If the tangent's too long, maybe we can cut it out and then just like add it as maybe like a something like extra or something at the end, or like a separate upload.
Yeah, exactly. It's cool, but okay. I feel like what Deadpool Wolverine struggles with, and I understand the history and the significance, but I feel like the Wolverine thing is also what every other movie on Marvel is struggling with, and that's the stakes. I feel like the reason why I have such a big disconnect with the movie and why it feels kind of
Yeah.
hollow is because of the stakes are way too high. There is no when you tell me about a Deadpool movie and you're supposed to have fun and it's supposed to be a guy character and you bring Wolverine in it. In my head, I'm all like, at most, the stakes should be, hey, I don't want to get killed by Wolverine and we get introduced to cool characters. It could have been the same concept. But when you start getting into to destroying timelines and stuff like that with the Deadpool movie, not even like a freaking like a Avengers movie or something like that. That's when I start getting that disconnect because I'm all like, yo, if every movie leading up to this next phase is gonna be enter freaking multiversal threats, then what's the point of having a big bad like dude if it's just gonna be like every character can every villain can theoretically destroy the universe? What makes him different? That's why like it's more impactful when Thanos is snapped away half of the of just the world, again the world, because you care more about the characters that's in the world, not the freaking multiverse of every other character and stuff like. And it's just like, I understand that when Wolverine comes in, you got to have more of a serious tone when it comes to the storyline. I get that, but they could have did it better. That's it. And they also really rely on cameos more than actually good storytelling. Because I did get hyped for every character, and I do understand how significant they are. But at the end of the day, the whole B plot, the whole like C plot of them trying to fix the freaking multiverse or whatever, or the whole that could have been scrapped, and it could have just been them being inside the Badlands, and we could have seen a bunch of different characters. Like a bunch of the fights was unnecessary, but that's like one of my biggest gripes because it's just too much. Because then I look at a preview of like Falcon, of Captain America, and I'm all like, okay, this villain is gonna be more grounded because I know this character isn't gonna be trying to destroy the whole universe. The Red Hawk is probably just gonna want to beat Captain's ass or some shit like that, or it's just gonna be like interstate, which makes sense for one character. You know what I mean? But like, I don't know. Every time when they get into the multiverse stuff, it just kind of like it bothers me. It irks my nerves. But yeah, that's my whole tangent. I apologize in advance. That's why I gave it a 7.
No, I
That's,
want so
that's
you make good points. You when you're talking about how the stakes are way too high for Deadpool movie, I agree. But I think part of the reason is that because this is like the send off to the Fox movies and they have to tie it into the MCU some way. I mean, they still could have like used the Void and stuff, but I feel like part of the reason is that they haven't been using the multiverse. We're in the multiverse saga right now. The only things to like really use the multiverse were Loki the show, Spider-Man No Way Home, the Marvels to an extent, I guess, and Quantumania
Doctor Strange.
and Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
So that's like 4 projects, and
That's a lot of movies, though.
That's a lot of movies, but we've had like 2 or 3 more times that in phases 4 and 5 so far. That's not a lot of multiverse exploring for what's supposedly the multiverse saga. And part of it, and at least back before we still had Kang, and I don't know how much of that influenced this movie, like whether or not they were gonna go ahead with him or not. But the whole thing was that the multiverse was starting to collapse. If we have like multiverse ending threats in multiple movies, that makes sense because we're leading up to the multiverse just finally collapsing and then needing to be like reformed, which is probably what is going to happen at the end of this, is that we're gonna get like a soft reboot at the end of the multiverse saga. But I do agree that the stakes are probably a little too high for a Deadpool movie. I will say that you're not wrong about that. That they probably could have done something a little more smaller scale. and I don't think the cameos took away from the movie, because they're not just cameos, right? They don't just show up and say hi, we're here, and then dip. They all have some sort of role, well, except for maybe the Human Torch. It's like he shows up, you know, gives us a little bit of exposition, and then gets killed off for being too expensive. But
Yeah,
with like
yeah,
Blade,
yeah.
with Blade, Elektra, Gambit, X-23, they're all there to help them, you know, get out of the void. It's not until Deadpool and Wolverine come back there, and I will say, like, you know, they probably could have like thought to storm together a little bit sooner, but it probably did help to have 3 people with regen powers rather than just one.
Yeah.
So yeah, we got a little bit of a tangent there. We'll probably cut that out, post it on its own. But if this video gets too long,
Because I could argue about this movie.
we could do this all
argue
day.
about this movie for a long time.